Hey guys, this is Joe. Today I want to introduce you to our partner Vanta. Achieving ISO 27001 or SOC 2 compliance can unlock major growth for your company and build customer trust, but the process can be time intense and costly. Vanta automates compliance, getting your audit ready quickly and saving up to 85% of associated costs. And Vanta scales with your business, helping you enter new markets. Join 7,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora that trust Vanta. Claim 20% off Vanta at vanta.com/startupradio. That's vanta.com, spelled vanta.com/startupradio.
Unium is the subscription management hub for B2B SaaS companies. Whether you're looking to expand to new markets, experimenting with pricing models, or simply want a streamlined quote-to-cash process, Unium got your back. On top of that, Unium Insights provides the SaaS metrics you need for reporting to the board and for future company evaluation. It gives you the key figures needed to drive your business forward and take strategic decisions. Unium. We help SaaS companies manage their B2B customer subscriptions.
Tavarit is a German deep tech company. Tavarit is a B2B AI SaaS solution that helps metal manufacturing companies reduce energy and quality costs by prescribing optimal machine settings. Tavarit has global enterprise customers in 10 countries and saved more than 14 million for them. Tavarit's focus on sustainable manufacturing has impacted over 55 metal processing plants, reducing their carbon emissions. Our vision is to drive the world towards sustainable and zero waste manufacturing. Visit www.tvarit.com to know more about us.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, and today I have another guest in our cooperation with the German Startup Association, the Female Founder of the Year 2021, Nora. Hey, welcome.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Totally my pleasure, and congratulations.
Thank you. It was actually 2022, if I may already correct you in minute one. But
I'm so
that's
sorry.
fine.
Yes, 2022. I'm sorry. You're also Forbes 30 under 30, and I have to be a little bit careful because you can analyze me. You study psychology. That is very interesting how you got into startup. But first, can you tell us a little bit how you studied psychology in York and made a master's there in Cambridge, then went into like real treatment positions, and then at one point popped up at Rocket Internet? Can you take us along this journey?
Yes, of course. Very happy to. So I grew up in a family of everyone was a psychotherapist or psychologist. So I grew up only really with psychologists, psychoanalytics, everyone very close to me.
Can I interrupt you a little bit?
Yes, please.
What have been the discussions at the dining table in the evening? Did your parents analyze you?
Yeah, we all analyzed each other. No, usually when I say that I grew up in such a family, everyone is like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry for you. Like that must have been horrible." But to be honest, I always saw it as a huge privilege because everyone was very aware of feelings and everyone was discussing problems always very openly. And I also learned the techniques of how to make myself feel good and how to not deal with problems very early onwards. And I feel like it really helped me to build up a lot of resilience that other people don't have. And I always, really saw it as a huge privilege to grow up with psychology in my genes, really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's no surprise you started studying psychology. Why did you go to York?
I started studying psychology because I always felt like, apart from my family, I always wanted to know about how people react, why they react the way they do, how they turn out to be the people that they are in the end. And this has always been topics that interested me a lot. So I chose to study psychology. I wanted to study in the UK because I liked the whole college setup. I also wanted to learn better English at that time. So for me, I just felt like I wanted to be somewhere else, but not too far from home. And UK and Germany is, I guess, not that far away. And I also got a scholarship to pay for the tuition fee. So for me, that was the very logical thing to do. And I had a really, really great time studying psychology in York, and then moved on to Cambridge, which was also great to learn about the campus life there and to really learn from really great professors about how the mind works. And I'm very thankful that I was given that opportunity to really live there for the 5 years almost, and learn so much about how the human mind works. It was great, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Did you also get to love fish and chips?
I love fish and chips. I do. I still eat it quite a lot in Berlin, to be honest.
And then you started a normal, I would say, clinical career, right? Treating people. Was it like that?
Not really. So I did all my internships during my studies. I always did them in the clinical sector. So I went to psychiatric hospitals and worked there, usually in Hamburg, but also sometimes in the UK. And I was working alongside the patients and learned how the actual clinical work of a psychologist is like. And also, of course, I always knew how the work is structured in a way, also from home, of course, since my mom has a practice in Hamburg. However, I then decided not to continue down that path. I think for me at that time, I thought it was very interesting to work in a psychiatric hospital. But I also felt like I want to do something else with my life. First of all, I kind of miss that atmosphere of young people that want to change something, that want to build something. I always also felt like I wanted to see the startup world more. So then I applied for Rocket Internet, and and then I moved there. I completely changed fields. But to be honest, back then I already always had the idea of creating something in the end that would help people with mental health disorders. And I felt like I needed to learn how to build a company first. And where better place to do that than Rocket Internet.
And you entered Rocket Internet classically in an HR function, right?
Yeah, I stayed there for 2 months, and then I was thankfully given the opportunity to move on to the venture development part. And I worked as a venture developer, which means that you are allowed to see different startups or different ventures that Rocket Internet was building at that time. And you always are responsible for one part. I was in different companies of Rocket Internet involved. The longest I spent actually at the company, at the food delivery service Foodora, where I was building up different functions in the organization, and then led the team in Hamburg as a city head for, I think, 6 months. Yeah.
And there was a very special day there for you at Foodora, right?
Yeah, there was many special days working at Rocket Internet, I have to say. Sometimes I felt like it's not that far away from working in the psychiatric hospital, to be honest. But there was one very special day working for Foodora, which was the one day where I decided to quit, where I decided to start my own thing, was on the 1st of January, so just after New Year's. I think that was in 2015. And to that time, I was working as a city head in Hamburg. And so the food delivery, how it works is that all the riders, they all had bikes. And as you can imagine, on the 1st of January, all the riders that we had, they all were hungover, first of all, from the New Year's Eve party. So they all came to the office, like getting their bike. They were all, part of them, they were already drunk still. Then they were hungover. I was just like feeling so bad of even letting them cycle, to be honest. And then, of course, on the 1st of January, there's glass everywhere because people smash bottles at New Year's, and everyone...
our American audience, we should say the consumption of alcohol, even from bottles, is permitted in Germany. So that's
On the
why
streets.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the Americans go, what did they do? Yeah, that's totally normal. You stand there, you fire a few rockets in the air, have a few,
Exactly.
boom going on. And then somebody takes out a bottle of sect German champagne, and you just share it. They have glasses, and you just share it with your neighbors, right? And of course, glasses bottle, they shatter there. People are drunk. People are a little bit crazy, so it happens.
Yes, that's what happened. So there's so much glass on the streets in Germany everywhere on the 1st of January. And of course, all the bikes got broken. So these already super hungover / still drunk drivers had to go into the office again. And I was working as the only person already from the beginning of the day. I was, of course, myself very hungover, but I had to deal with this whole situation of already having too few riders. Those that I had, they had no working bikes anymore. Then all the restaurants, they were surprisingly closed despite telling us that they were open. I had restaurants calling, complaining, I had customers all wanting to order burgers, of course, because everyone was hungover. I had no riders to deliver it. So many people screaming, and it was literally the worst day to start the year. It was so stressful. And I just felt like at the end of the day, I worked like a 10-hour shift. And at the end of the day, I was like, God, screw this. I no longer want to do this for a company that's doing food delivery. If I want to be treated like that, if I want to do that crazy stuff, I can do it for my own company, and I can do it to help people with mental health disorders.
That's where we get into the next spot, because I was wondering, how did you decide what problem to solve? How did you have the startup idea in the back of your mind?
Yeah. So this really arose very much from the situation that we're in Germany. So Joe, do you know the average waiting time to see a psychotherapist in Germany at the moment?
Unfortunately, no, I don't.
I tell you, it's very long. You wait on average 5 months to see a psychotherapist in Germany. And this is starting from the point where you try to reach out for help, right? So you're already feeling really, really bad. You suffer from a depression or an anxiety. You want to see a psychotherapist because you want to deal with your problem. And then you have to wait for 5 months on average, which is ridiculous, I think. It's a way too long time to see a psychotherapist. It's not like the whole system doesn't work here in Germany from the way I see it. And it's a time where usually these people suffering, they don't get any help whatsoever. The symptoms, they get worse and worse because they're not being treated. And it's a horrible situation for the patients. And this is something that I already noticed very early onwards, again, from my home as well, with my mom having so many people calling her, asking for a place with her. And she keeps having to tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have a place anymore, I'm full. And I realized that this is a situation that I find incredibly frustrating. That paired with the fact that people are still feeling very ashamed to see a psychotherapist or doctor. And oftentimes they don't want to speak directly with anyone about their mental health conditions. And I felt we really need to change the way we think about mental health, and we need to offer people a quicker solution into mental health. And something that is also a lower barrier. So even for people that still feel stigmatized, they can access anything at least. And this is how we came up with Selfapy. So Selfapy is a wording combined of self and therapy. So it's a self-help product. And we wanted to create digital therapy solutions that would give people with depression, with anxiety, the chance to really get this help very early onwards, and to do it from their own homes. So not having to really speak to a psychotherapist, but to learn the techniques of cognitive behavioral therapy in their own time and from home.
And is it to replace a psychotherapist? Is it an add-on to the treatment, or is it just an additional solution to help those people?
Yeah. So it really depends. A lot of people use Selfapy's online therapy products to bridge the waiting time to see a psychotherapist. So when you're being told, okay, you still have to wait for 5 months, then you can access our app and use that as a bridge to the waiting time. However, for some people, especially those with mild symptoms, a good app can already help. So we also run, of course, clinical trials the whole time. We just completed our 5th clinical trial. For example, in the last clinical trial that was recently published also online with a journal, we could show that we actually reduced the symptoms of depression by almost 40% after 3 months, which is quite a high symptom reduction that we can achieve. So for a lot of people, they go use Selfapy, and then afterwards they don't actually need a psychotherapist anymore, which of course is what we try to get as well, to really help the people as much as we can already.
My understanding is the app tracks when you're doing well and when you're doing not so well, and it helps you to discover what kind of triggers those feelings.
That's one part of it, yeah. So the way it works is that you, the base product lasts for 3 months. And within this 3 months, you're doing different tests in the beginning. So we get to know you better. We understand what your condition is. We understand what your main problems are. For example, within your depression, whether you have specifically a problem with your self-esteem or with your work condition, whether it's more related to stress or whatever. And then based on that, you get individually tailored content that really helps you to, first of all, understand your condition better. That helps you to understand really what is wrong with me and why do I feel like that. And then also really gives you the concrete techniques to make yourself feel better. This is being delivered with the help of videos from psychologists, but also tailored exercises, a lot of text delivered, and the user basically learns why, for example, negative thoughts arise. Then they document their own negative thoughts, and then they really are being taught the techniques of how to make these negative thoughts stop in a way, or how to deal with those. And this is the way it works. So you really get always the structured content. But of course, as it is with cognitive behavioral therapy, usually, which is something that we base the products on, is that you always try to do a daily protocoling of what you've been doing, with whom you've been involved with, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are. And we also give this pattern analysis to the user then afterwards. So they really get the feedback, okay, which are actually the activities that make me feel better, which are the activities that make me feel worse. And then we can build up on that knowledge to really find a more healthy, a better routine for you in your everyday life, so that you don't just have the activities that make you feel worse, but also always plan some highlights in your day.
Is that something the app can share later on when the people are bridging the time until a treatment with the specialist actually treating them? Or is it,
Sorry, or interrupted. Yes, it's possible. No, of course, it's something that's very important to us as well. So we don't want to be an isolated solution. So we work together quite well with different clinics, but also with different practices of psychotherapists. So when they use us as the bridge for waiting time, we always ask the user in the end to export all the data that they've been given us, and then export that and give that to that psychotherapist, so the psychotherapist can see, all right, this is the average symptoms that they have, this is the patterns that arise from the daily protocoling, this is the activities that make them feel better, this is the activities that make them feel worse, and also this is the different content that the user has already been learned. So they probably know how the concept of negative thoughts, for example, is developing. So for the psychotherapist, it usually is quite nice because the patient comes in and already knows a bit about cognitive behavioral therapy, and they don't have to start with
from
zero,
scratch.
basically. Yeah.
Understood. What kind of symptoms can you treat, and how successful is it? You already said 40% in one clinical trial.
Yeah. So we currently have products available for people with a depression, for people with a generalized anxiety disorder, and for people with a panic disorder. And by the end of the year, we're launching 2 more products for people with eating disorders. So just binge eating and bulimia, which is 2 more products. Which kind of results do we have? So we are running with all of these, all of these 5 different products. We've completed randomized controlled trials with independent research organizations. So, for example, we work a lot with the Charité together, which we also published the last study on with regards to the depression course.
We may add for our international audience, Charité is one of the biggest clinics in Berlin, right?
Yes, that's true. Sorry, thanks for adding that. We always do controlled trials. So we assess the symptom reductions for patients using Selfapy compared to a control group, and then of course always aiming for significant differences and big effect sizes. And we also assess, of course, how much the symptoms decrease over time. And we have between 20 and 40% symptom reductions in all of our online therapy courses, depending on the indication.
Mm-hmm. You will have towards the end of the year, so it's beginning of November, not too far away, 5 products out there. How is the payment arranged? Because in Germany you can get apps on prescription. Are you there in those lists that actually a psychotherapist, a psychologist can prescribe the app, let's say for 3-6 months until the people can get into their treatment?
Yes, good question. Very important, because yes, we are actually one of the major provider of prescribable digital therapy solutions in Germany. So we've been in the field, right, for 6-7 years already, and to have our online therapy products be reimbursed by the health insurances was always our top priority, because we felt like we don't want the patient to pay for the therapy themselves. And also in Germany, it's a bit different than compared to the US, for example. In Germany, patients are usually used to having the health insurances pay for everything, because this is how the system works. So if you go to a doctor, it's always covered. Also, traditional psychotherapy is always being covered by the health insurances, but you do have this long waiting time. If you don't want to have this long waiting time, you have to pay. So we always felt like, okay, so we are medical products. They're certified. We have RCT trials that can show the effectiveness. So why are we not being reimbursed by the health insurances? And this is something that we've been working on quite heavily in the past 7 years. First of all, starting with individual contracts with health insurances. So also that on a side note, we have over 100 different health insurances here in little Germany. And we started off with individual insurance contracts where they would pay for the online therapies for their insurees. But then we started lobbying for that law really early onwards as well, to have a general reimbursement in place for all health insurances. And this is what came to place then in 2019. And we were actually the first depression app in whole Germany that got that certification to be reimbursed by all health insurances. It's quite a difficult certification. As you know, Joel, maybe there's only a handful of actually apps that manage to get this certification and are reimbursable by all health insurances. But we currently have these 3 products in the market that are being reimbursed by the health insurances. It was a very long and partly frustrating way, but we were super proud. It was actually the biggest milestone when we got that reimbursement certification. It's just a long and tiring process, yeah.
How does it then work? Do you need to get your 2 additional products also certified, or is it just...
Yeah, no, we are currently in the certification period with our eating disorder courses. And the way it works is that they mostly check the clinical data. So how good is your product actually in reducing symptoms? But they, of course, also always check for data security, which is very important. You need to have these interoperable standards, so be able to be integrated into the electronic patient record in the future, all these kind of different things. Your product has to be medical sound. You have to be a certified medical product. You have to have all these different certifications with regards to data security, information security, of course, because it's just so important. And the institution checks for all of this. But once you do have this certification, you can actually be treated as a prescription drug here in Germany. So doctors and psychotherapists, they can write you on this prescription paper as they do with antidepressants, for example. And then, they can give that to patients, and patients can just hand it into their insurance and completely get the products without any money they have to spend.
Very interesting system for our international audience. In Germany, you are required by law to have a health insurance. Yeah. And so everybody is covered.
Yeah.
Going a little bit away from that, you are also a startup, and I've seen you've been founded 2016. You raised something like 6.6 million US dollars, I assume seed and pre-seed?
So we raised like 13 million in total so far.
30? Then Crunchbase is outdated.
I'm sorry for that. And the last round that we did in, when was that? It was December 2019, so in December, that we raised 6.7 or something like that, yeah.
I understand. Your investors include a high-tech Gründerfonds, where we actually have an interview with Alex von Frankenberg. We link it down here. Maverick Founders, About Seed, Think Health, SHS Capital. Would you be open to talk to new investors?
Yeah, of course, always open. I think Startup is always kind of fundraising on the side. And we're actually fundraising right now for the next steps with regards to internationalization of our online therapy products. So yeah, definitely open.
And are you currently hiring?
Yeah, I think everyone's always hiring. So we're specifically hiring at the moment for salespeople. So actually people on the ground that can do the sales for doctors and psychotherapists. And then, of course, as everyone, we're always looking for developers.
But that's the usual answers I get. Sometimes a few specialists. I just had a startup that helps with an AI to do some metal casting. Yes, they also look for engineers, especially with experience in metal casting, chemists and stuff like this. But for every startup, it's like sales and developers, but specialized sales for you, right? Everybody who would like to learn more, we link it down here in the show notes. There will be a link to your career site that you'll share after the interview with me, right?
My career site?
Yes, of Selfapy, where all the open jobs are listed because...
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll share that, of course. Sorry.
Yes, because... this interview will stay live for a few years, and I assume the roles to be filled hopefully vastly expand and are also very varying, hopefully.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I guess so. Yeah.
Great.
Of course.
Nora, again, congratulations for your German Startup Award. It was a pleasure talking to you and hope to have you back after, let's say, the next successful fundraising.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Totally my pleasure. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.
When you're an entrepreneur with a great idea, it can be daunting to find funding. Startup Raven takes the process out of your hands by helping entrepreneurs connect and learn about potential investors all in one place, without any long-filled forms or 1,000 questions. Sign up for early access at startupraven.com.